Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Fallout Bar. A little bit of a surprise, as we may have forgot to tell you all it was coming back, but we are here for the duration of the Premier League. Myself, Jack Obbegard, going to be alternating hosting duties with Lee Boyce, and then whoever from the team is available to jump on, which means tonight I have the lovely Charlie with me. Charlie, it's been a few weeks since we've sat here and just chatted, but how are we doing, buddy?
Yeah, I think, well, before we came on, you had the usual music on, and it just brought back the memories from a couple of weeks ago. It's been, it's been a while, but the new format of the Premier League is growing on me massively. I don't know whether that enthusiasm will stay in a couple of weeks' time, but another really good night of darts, and you kind of feel like once the final's done, you have to now look back and see what happened at the start of the night, because it's such a long evening, but high quality darts again.
Yeah, it was indeed. And the normal music will be back as soon as possible. Appreciate that wasn't our normal introduction, but some of the branding is wrong on that. And as this coverage is being brought to you by BoyleSports for the entire duration of the Premier League, we couldn't use the one that we have saved in the back end. So PB will need to work his magic. But we couldn't sit here and deny you this conversation any longer, folks. A few of you in the chat room: Kieran, Tommy Boy, Colin, Dan, Yankee Clippers back in. Mental health from me. G's Adventures says hello. So does Harry. Good to see you all, guys. I think, Charlie, we should just crack on, because we've got 7 games to talk about tonight now that the format has changed. This usually would have been 5, but obviously we do have a knockout format now: 4 quarterfinals, 2 semi-finals, and a final. It means the draw is no longer on the table, but it also means we can no longer really do a prediction league, because that gets a little bit more difficult in terms of then having a semi-final and final to predict every week. So what we just have to do is just sit here and chat, and I think we're pretty good at that, mate. Where were we? Opening up. I hope this. I'm just sat and watched it. You know, you just panic that perhaps this isn't in order. I'm thinking it's Peter Wright versus Michael van Gerwen opened up the evening. Peter Wright, I think, pretty much the entire world's favourite to win the entire night tonight. Been pretty good match play, world champion, Players' Championship final, won a Pro Tour. And then he would come up and produced an 84 average against Michael van Gerwen with the straight darts. And I'm a little bit, I'm not ashamed to say, but I definitely tweeted about 6 o'clock tonight that if Peter Wright turns up with a straight barrel darts, he wins whatever he wants. Maybe he just didn't want to win tonight, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think for him, in the form that he's in at the moment, the perfect person to play against is Michael van Gerwen, someone who's low on confidence, is really struggling at the moment. Even you see his demeanour on stage at the start of the match, you can see that there's something I think there's something not right there, and I think he's low on confidence. But it's great to see him back in the winning circle again, albeit it wasn't for very long. Probably should have been a little bit longer, but he produced a decent performance tonight. Peter Wright, again, with the darts that he chose, I expected a little bit more from him. We always talk about the darts that he chooses, but he just didn't seem to be with it tonight. And that was evident as the game went on. Michael just tore him apart, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the top line stats, they both had the same amount of 180s. Peter Wright actually produced more 140s than Michael van Gerwen, but it's the severe lack of tons, just 2 straight tons, or between 100 and 139 from Peter Wright in 7 legs. That just means the rest of the darts were incredibly wayward, which is not something we're used to seeing from Snakebite, even when he's chopping and changing.
Yeah, definitely. And look, his scoring is something that we've become so accustomed to. And that's something that I think tonight, if his scoring was on, he'd have beaten him, because MVG's already shown that when he's under pressure, he struggles to take out the darts on the outer ring, which is something that he needs to improve on. But he got 75% on his doubles, did Michael, and that was really impressive. Peter only had 4 chances at a double and took 1 of them. So you've got to see that the pressure wasn't on the green machine tonight, and that's why he's come away with a 6-1 win. And yeah, he'll probably be walking off stage thinking that was a good performance, but he knows that Peter Wright wasn't at his best tonight.
Yeah, look, we've seen glimpses of this from Michael in the past 6 to 9 months, I guess, where he produces something brilliant. Last year's Premier League campaign was the perfect example of this. One night he was absolutely superb. The next night, not quite there. We're pretty much going to have the same conversation in a minute as well. But this is a moment of those glimpses that actually, when he does play like this, he is pretty difficult to stop still. It is just taking something really special to do so.
Yeah, 100%, and we'll touch on that as the games go on and we move to the last stage of tonight about that touch of something special. But he just needed something tonight to go his way, and they talked about whilst the coverage was on about how he just needed a win. However, it mattered whether it was a last leg and they couldn't get over the line or something like that. But today he showed glimpses and yeah, there was more than glimpses, but he showed that he was ruthless in the way that he played, and his scoring was pretty prolific, and his outer ring success was great as well. So for him, he'll take a lot of confidence with this, especially after the weekend that he's had at the Pro Tours.
Yeah, and one more thing. This isn't really a question, just more of an observation. I think there was a little difference in Michael van Gerwen's darts tonight. They looked a slightly different shape, and the way they were going in, just with the force, the way they were hitting the board, I have a feeling they may have been a little bit heavier. I might be wrong, but they may have just been going in just that little bit more. I don't know. I felt there was a little bit more in that action tonight, just than we've seen the last few weeks, and that says to me perhaps a heavier dart. Hopefully, we'll get Phil to confirm that later in the evening, though. Let's move on to game number 2, Charlie. And if Peter Wright is the best player in the world right now, he's heading towards world number 1 and can win absolutely anything. This man is not too far behind him. Johnny Clayton is absolutely superb right now. Just under 101 average and a 6-3 victory over Michael Smith. Pretty close early on, I think. And then Johnny Clayton just reeling it away, really.
The ferret continues to deliver, doesn't he? I think it's been a while since we've seen him have a serious drop-off, but what a performance that was. I know Michael hasn't really got going ever since being reintroduced into the Premier League, but the ferret is ruthless. He really is ruthless. You give him an opportunity and he takes it. And, you know, this could potentially be another really successful year for him. And I'd expect him to go a long way in this year's Premier League as well.
Yeah, indeed. It's looking good for the ferret to potentially defend his title. Quick word on Michael Smith. 2 weeks in a row now without a win. The only player in the field to be in that position as a man that made the World Championship final looking so calm, so assured. Everybody, including myself, was pretty certain that this was going to be the next 3 to 6 months where Smith builds on that, because he took it far better than he did his first World Championship final loss, and kick on. It doesn't seem to have clicked so far in this Premier League campaign, does it?
100% it doesn't. And I mean, you know, look, he's got to look at last week. He was beaten by Peter Wright. Of course, Peter went on to win it. This week he's been beaten by Johnny Clayton, and you know what the story.
I mean, it's a tough draw. It's a very, very tough draw for over 2 weeks. Arguably the 1 and 2 in the world right now.
Yeah, and as they say on Sky, that obviously the Premier League isn't decided in the first 2 weeks, so it won't be a worry for him. But we've been so accustomed to seeing him so relaxed on stage tonight. I don't think we saw as much as that but a frustration showing from him. But I think he'll grow as the tournament goes on. He'll just know that he's been wanting to play in the Premier League for so long. He's been calling it for so long. Now that he's in, he's not started the way that we expected, but I think he'll improve. And I think we'll see the best of Michael Smith as the Premier League goes on.
Yeah, and I suppose with this format, you can turn it around incredibly quickly. In the old format, you win a game 1 week, you have to wait another week to keep that going, that momentum a little bit longer. You can win 3 games against your 3 biggest rivals, pick up 5 points, and jump straight up that leaderboard. That is a very, very nice new addition to this Premier League, how you can just suddenly turn it around in 1 week rather than have to build it up over 3 or 4. Next up, Joe Cullen 6, James Wade 3. Usually, what we say about James Wade is the way he starts is the way he finished, but actually he come flying out of the blocks, looked pretty sharp for the first couple of legs, and then dropped off massively. Joe Cullen stayed at a decent level, mid to low 90s, gets the job done 6-3.
Yeah, impressive from Joe Cullen to come back, because, of course, last week he was, you know, he had a bit of an opening to what Premier League life is going to be like, and that's just the way it's going to be for him. But he came in, he weathered the early storm, and then he kicked on with his game, and you know he shows exactly why he deserves to be in the Premier League. 60% on his doubles, 4 180s. He outscored James Wade. His averages were 6 points more than Wade. But as you say, Wade started so quickly that I thought it was going to be a one-way traffic, and he just dropped off a little bit. Joe got better, and hence why he went all the way to tonight. But again, impressive from Joe Cullen. He didn't have a great first week, but now he's come back in. He's settled. He'll be a lot happy that he's got points on the board.
Yeah, word on James Wade and those in particular that support James Wade. Is it a little bit panic stations already? Gerwen Price was defeated last week by James Wade, but neither player managed to average 90. I think he picked up 1 or 2 wins over the weekend, but wasn't that impressive at the Pro Tour. Since probably before the World Championships, he looked like he was heading into that in very, very good form. Nice part of the draw. Never really capitalised. Always looked like he was just struggling through matches there. He doesn't seem to be able to find that top gear or even his B game at the minute. He seems to be way off what everybody expects from James Wade right now.
Yeah, I think I always talk about how James Wade is so consistent in the way that he plays. And, he can hit a level and he can maintain that throughout a game. But his level that he set at the start, if he'd kept maintained that, he'd have come out and won the game. But he just dropped off. And as, Yankee Clipper mentions, that he went really flat in the last 4 legs. And in the Premier League against these top players, you can't afford to be doing that because it's such a short format. It's so quick. Before you know it, you're off the stage and you've been beaten and you're going home for the night. So is it a worry? I don't know. I think we'll have to come to that in a couple of weeks' time as the tournament progresses. But for James Wade, he's got to improve if he wants to compete with some of the best players.
He has indeed. Final opening round game then, quarterfinal matchup. Gerwen Price 6, Gary Anderson 3. Another case of somebody starting pretty quickly and not being able to maintain it throughout the game. The first couple of legs, I thought, here we go. Gary Anderson is well and truly back. All the practice is paying off. All the match practice he's getting at the minute. He'd swap back to the old stem setup, the blue, and it just looked like vintage Gary Anderson for the first couple of legs, and then...
Yes. My notes, as I wrote as the game went on, my notes were headed as the beauty of the sport, which I feel like this game was. That leg where both players just could not get. I think Gerwen, I don't know how many darts he missed at a double, and then Gary started missing the big number, and it was comical errors. And then he pins double one, does Gerwen Price, and then takes out a 156 to hole throw and basically sink Gary Anderson. And that seemed to be that was the change of momentum that he needed in the game, and it needed something like that, but neither player was at the best. I think Gary Anderson, going back to how we used to see him, was nice. And I thought at the start this could be an opportunity because Gerwen hasn't been playing his best. So, it was one of those games where we saw the great, the 127, the 156, and we also saw the not so great, which is the 28% checkout from Gerwen Price.
Yeah, I mean, he missed 15 darts at a double compared to Gary Anderson's 4 misses, and he still averaged 6.5 points better off than him in the averages. That's a little bit of a worry for Gary Anderson, but obviously he will have the chance to come back next week. On to the semi-finals and a very, very early contender that will take some beating, by the way, for match of the Premier League this year. Michael van Gerwen 4, Johnny Clayton 6. For the first couple of legs, Michael van Gerwen was averaging nearly 130. 1-3-0. He went out like an absolute house on fire, maintained around a 106, 107 for large parts of the game. Johnny Clayton just found an extra gear from somewhere and produced a run of legs that were absolutely sublime to sink Van Gerwen without really doing anything wrong. 14 180s, 14 turns, 5 140s, 3 180s, a 129 highest checkout, which was a double finish. 4 from 6 on the finishes and 105 average. How on earth do you tell somebody they've lost that game?
You won't believe the amount of Pro Tours that I've been on here, and Michael van Gerwen has started the day in incredible fashion. And I know it's over so many games, but it seems like this game is how he plays in the Pro Tours. He starts brilliantly all the way through, and then someone comes along with their A game and puts him to the sword. And when he was that far ahead, I thought this is done now. And Johnny reeled him off slowly, and then he started to, he's 75% on a double is incredible. Both players were playing exceptional darts, and I think Michael will have walked off there and thought, I couldn't do much more, because he's played against Johnny and Johnny's up to gear even more there. And, you know, it glimpses again that MVG may be starting to find his game, but again, how has he been beaten in this game? I'll never know. And Johnny just produced his best game when he needed to.
Yeah, and I think a good trait for Johnny Clayton is, look, we've seen him win from all sorts of positions. We've seen him win from 5-6 legs down against Gerwen Price earlier last year. We've seen him romp away from victories at the front, and we've seen him win scrappy battles. But his demeanour doesn't really change. We get the odd point now from Johnny Clayton towards the camera. He's starting to learn where that is, added a little bit of showbiz. But his demeanour doesn't change. When a player starts a big comeback, you can see a shift in them. The dart tends to start becoming that little bit more aggressive through the air. You can see it in their mannerisms. They pick up their walk a little bit on stage. None of that from Johnny Clayton. He's almost like a silent assassin in that regard, in that he just steamrolls you from 4-1 down or whatever it was. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, look, with MVG, you know, like if he's coming back, you will know because you can hear exactly what he's doing. But for Johnny, he just gets about his business the exact same. You'll be able to, if you took the scoreboard away, you wouldn't know what the score was because he's the exact same as he is. Okay, he brings the point out. He seems to find that whichever cameraman's on that camera is a lucky guy because he gets pointed at every single time. But he just slowly went about his business, reeled MVG in, and once he got level, he then just pressed his foot on the accelerator, and that was it. It was game over. But a silent assassin is Johnny Clayton, and you know you've really got to be at your best to beat him. And it was just a shame that MVG couldn't get over the line because with such the gap that he had, I thought there was no way that it would be caught.
Completely agree. Talking of being at your best, Gerwen Price very nearly ended up in the final without being anywhere near his best this evening. But I think we saw the best of Joe Cullen in the last 3 or 4 legs in that match. He also turns it around from behind to beat Gerwen Price 6-5. And he's another on that thread from Johnny Clayton. Even less so than Johnny Clayton, I think, because his action is so loopy, so from out the side, and doesn't really have that forceful extension. You don't see it coming from Joe Cullen either, but once he picks that pace up and he finds a range on that treble, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think Johnny confirmed confirmed exactly why he needs to be in the Premier League, because tonight was the way that he went about it was exceptional, and the way he turned it up when he needed to, especially towards the latter stages of the game, was brilliant. And he finally, when he got into it and the 180s were flowing, the 1-2-1 checkout he put in, 50% on his doubles was impressive. Look, Gerwen Price has got a lot of questions at the moment because he knows that Peter Wright is right up against him for that number 1 spot. So, you know, people will be questioning, and the fans they get behind, they tend not to get behind Gerwen Price, but a classic game between the two. Okay, it won't tip the MVG Clayton game, but Joe Cullen showing that he is box office for the sport and, you know, really deserves to be in this Premier League because that was a superb performance from him.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise going that far behind to Gerwen Price every week. Like you said, he showed why he should be in the Premier League. 5-2 down is not the ideal situation to be in when you're playing the reigning world number 1, but he pulled it off nonetheless and made his way to the final.
Yeah, and I think, as I mentioned, he had a tough week last week, a bit of a tough awakening to Premier League life, but to be 5-2 down, he'll probably been sat there thinking, that's it. So at 5-2 down, you've got what have you got to lose? You've got to throw your best game or else you're out and you're done. So for him to reel off the legs as he did without them losing the leg to go off is brilliant. And to level the game up, break throw, and then hold the throw in the final leg, exceptional from Joe Cullen. And, you know, he'll know that on another night he's probably punished, but tonight he's made the final.
Yeah, I wish when I'm a leg away from defeat and need 4 on the spin, I could suddenly start averaging 117.9 because that's what he produced in those last 4 legs. 11, 12, 14, 14, 117.9 from the Rockstar. Superb darts from Joe Cullen. On to the final then, Johnny Clayton versus Joe Cullen. And just like last week, the Ferret makes the final and delivers his worst performance of the evening. But this time he does pick up the title on the night. Just an 88 average from Johnny Clayton, 6 from 16 on the doubles. Perhaps it was the moment that got to Joe Cullen a little bit. We've said that a bit in his career in the past. He missed a couple of opportunities to really punish Johnny Clayton in this one. But the Ferret picks up the title. Add that to his final last week, and he now sits top of the table as well.
Yeah, he's sitting high and mighty, isn't he, at the top? He started really slowly, 2-0 down early doors. He went 3-1 down as well. So, that puts pressure on him, especially in this shorter format where it's first to six. 3-1 down is a tough position to be in. But then to come to level it up and then to win the throw back to get it to 4-4 and then just steamroll Joe Cullen after that was impressive from him. Look, he came up against an unstoppable Peter Wright last week. There was no chance he was going to beat him in the final, but to go one better this week, it just shows the consistency that we've become accustomed to against the Ferret. And for Joe to get to the final as well is good for him, especially after the week that he had last week.
It does indeed. Let me just find the table that I have that hasn't been updated yet. I can tell that Johnny Clayton is top. Joe Cullen moves up to second or third, maybe. Should really be more prepared for this. Maybe PDC have got it on their Twitter. Let's look ahead to next week while I try and find the table, and I'll give you a rundown of that. Oh, there's the table. I found it. There we go. Johnny Clayton leads the way. He's won one night. He's won 5 matches out of a possible 6 and is on 8 points. Peter Wright, by virtue of winning last week, still sits second, even though he was defeated opening round tonight. He's on 5 points. Joe Cullen goes from 0 to 3 points. He sits in third place. Michael Van Gerwen rounds out the top 4. He's on 2 points. Gerwen Price, Gary Anderson, James Wade all also have 2 points. And Michael Smith has 0 as he is yet to win a game. Clayton's also got a plus 20 leg difference at the minute. Not sure how important that will be come the end of the season, but it certainly will not hurt to have on your side. The next best in that regard is Peter Wright on 11, so he's only got 9 legs over Peter Snakebite Wright. We're just waiting as ever on a clip, I hope, from our winner. So let's look ahead to next week, and then we'll probably finish up with hearing from Johnny Clayton. Night number 3, Charlie, we head to the SSE Arena in Belfast. We're guaranteed one Scot in the semi-final, but that is absolutely all we know so far. And we open the night once again, Michael Smith against Gerwen Price. How do you see that one going?
It gets tough for Michael Smith. The draws are not helping him out here at all. He needs to get points on the board. I know that it's only week 3, but I think Gerwen Price will get over the line. I think he'll win 6-4 in this one. I just think it just depends on whether Michael can produce when we need him to. And I mean, he only put 3 180s in tonight, none the week before. If he can get his 180 scoring, I think he could have an opportunity. But I think Gerwen Price is starting to click as well. So that should be a really good game. But I'm going to go 6-4 to Gerwen Price just to get over the line.
I think I'd possibly agree with you on this one, that Gezzy's starting to find his stride. The Premier League's never really been a happy hunting ground for Gerwen Price, but this knockout format might just give him that little bit more oomph that he needs to get going each night and start going to town on some of his closest rivals, because it's been a while since he really delivered a tournament beatdown on some of these guys, and that drive doesn't just leave you overnight, especially when you're the world number 1 and have to start defending that very, very soon. Peter Wright is on the charge. Game number 2, Joe Cullen against Michael Van Gerwen.
If both players can bring their A games to that should be an absolute classic. If both don't, it could be a bit of a slog and a game that we want to forget about. I'm going to go with MVG in this one. He should have really gone all the way tonight to the final, but he didn't. I think he'll have taken a lot of confidence from that, though, because he needs something to turn in his game, or else he'll start to keep sliding away. But I'm going to go with Michael Van Gerwen, but I'm going to go 6-4 again. I think it's a good game between the two, but I think he just has a little bit too much for Joe Cullen.
It's never good when we start agreeing on this show, but once again, I do agree with you. I think the pace of the game will suit Joe Cullen, but MVG has to come out firing once again, back up this week's performances, not necessarily the results, obviously, but definitely back up that level he was at. And if he keeps hitting that level, don't get me wrong, this field is world class, but if he keeps hitting that level, 1 week, it will just fall for him. And after that, if he gets the bit between his teeth, good luck stopping him, because we've seen what he can do in the past, 2016, 2017, when he won 25 last leg deciders on the Euro Tour, I think it was, in a row. Just a ridiculous record. If he gets that air of inevitability about him again, I still think there is that gap at the top of World Darts, where I'm not sure anybody's scared of anybody anymore, but the minute somebody starts putting themselves back on that mantle, it just might give him that psychological edge that he's been missing in the last few months. And I think this is the perfect sort of game for him to have to try and back up. Cullen will play at the right sort of pace, won't try any antics, won't get caught up in any of the celebrations, and Michael can go and do what he is known for as best. So I'm back in MVG as well. I'm going to say 6-3 on this one. Game number 3, I told you we were guaranteed an all-Scottish. We're guaranteed a Scottish semi-finalist. That's because we have an all-Scottish quarter-final. Gary Anderson against Peter Wright, the former World Cup teammate. Where are you going with this one?
This one, again, could be another really good game. It just depends on which Gary Anderson turns up. I hope he brings his best game for this. I think Peter Wright won't play as poorly as he did tonight. I think we'll get to see what he was like last week. Next week, I think Peter Wright wins. I think he'll win 6-3 and gets one over his Scottish teammate.
This is where we're finally going opposite. Gary Anderson was very, very close to beating Peter Wright last week in the semi-final stage. It's another example of the players meeting up against each other already. I'm a little bit fearful that the performance tonight with the straight barrel darts is an excuse for Peter Wright to go tinkering for the week. And in doing so, God knows what he's going to turn up with next week, but I'm pretty convinced it would not be the same dart. And at that point, if Gary Anderson is going to be competitive in this Premier League, that's the sort of opportunity he has to take advantage of. And if he doesn't beat Peter Wright next week, that'll be 2 on the trot, 1 when he's played okay, 1 when his opponent could turn up and do anything. I'll be a little bit concerned about how often he's going to beat him. And in this format, you need to be able to beat everybody in the field. You can't rely on beating 3 or 4 players below you, sneaking into finals night, and then having to go on a single night. You have to be ready to go. So if Gary doesn't beat a Peter Wright that turns up with silly darts next week, I'm calling it now, I think he's in a bit of trouble. So I'm going to go Gary 6-3 in that one. And then we close the quarterfinals with tonight's winner, Johnny Clayton, against arguably the man in the least form in the field, James Wade. I think we both know which way we're going to go in this one, despite the fact that Wadey beat Johnny's Welsh teammate last week. It's just pretty much going to be scoreline from here, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Johnny will produce another really good performance and he'll beat James Wade. I'm going to go 6-2 in this one. I think his scoring power, his consistency will be too much for James Wade. Having said that, I wouldn't mind Wade getting a couple of points on the board and surprising a couple of people. But with the form that Johnny Clayton's in, I can't see any other result.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same. And I think if Johnny gets going, it could be in the region of 6-2, pretty one-sided. Let's not do what we've predicted to get to the semi-finals. Let's hear your finalist and a winner from where you just got to.
Oh, that's another tough one. I'm not going to go with Johnny.
It's arguably the best 8 players in the world. It's supposed to be tough, Charlie.
I'm not going to go with Johnny Clayton because I think that's just jumping on the bandwagon to say that he's going to win every week or get to the final every week. Do you know what? I'm going to go with Michael van Gerwen. I want him to get over the line in one just to see that confidence back. I'm going to go with him to get to the final. Who he plays against, I'm going to go Johnny Clayton. He plays against and he beats him in the final. I'm not going to
jump on the Johnny bandwagon. Yes, and then you looked how it played out, didn't you? And you're thinking,
yes, actually, I did. I looked exactly as it was and thought it's going to be Johnny Clayton again.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be MVG that gets over the line, and I'd be really happy for that. But if not, then Johnny Clayton will just continue to remain the informed player.
I think we get an all Wales final. I think we get a Clayton Price final.
Those two need to stay away from each other.
It's a bit difficult in this format. They're either going to get in the same quarter or just meet in the final if they keep playing well. And at some point, they're going to meet in the first round. When do they do that? Night 7 in the Ahoy in Rotterdam. Good luck with that one. At least they both won't get booed. They'll just pick their favourite Welsh one, I guess. I'm going to say an all-Wales final, and I'm going to say Clayton edges it once again. I'm going to say he goes back-to-back with a 6-4 victory over Gerwen Price. Right, folks, I did promise you the opportunity to hear what Johnny Clayton had to say in his post-match interview, so here it is for you.
And, you've just got to pick off the legs. Michael went off like a train, and I was thinking, oh my God, he's back to what Michael van Gerwen throws. And, I just tried to blank everything and keep on with my own game, and in the end I got through. Yeah, I am. It's different. Like, change is always good. Like, yeah, it is really good. It's early doors yet, and obviously there's things to be changed with everything, but yeah, I really do like it.
There we go then. That was Johnny Clayton in his post-match press conference. Unfortunately, that is all the press conferences we get nowadays, as losers don't have to give one in the first round, and after that, neither does anybody else. So we only get to speak to the winner, and in certain circumstances, somebody else. A little bit of a teaser for you, I believe. Part of the reason that Phil did travel all the way to Liverpool today, not only to get that post-match press conference from Johnny Clayton, was also to have a bit of a sit-down with Matt Porter, the chief exec of the PDC. So hopefully we'll have that available for you later in the week. There's also a couple more videos to come from the World Seniors Darts Championship last weekend, so keep your eyes out for those. If you're not done with your daily fix of darts, stay on the YouTube channel, but head over to our other live stream. The live league is on right now, including Matt Edgar, Dan Reed, and Nick Kenny. Still plenty of darts to go in that one. Big thank you to BoyleSports, our sponsors, for helping us pull off our coverage of the PDC Premier League throughout 2022. And of course, if you're not following us across social media, make sure you do so, and make sure you are subscribed and hit that like button on today's stream. We really appreciate you joining us, as I appreciate you joining me for the last half an hour. Charlie, we can actually go to, I don't mind this, we're going to bed at a reasonable time. It's not quite the World Championship, so we're still doing this at 1 a.m. sometimes. 20 past 11, how's that for your first return? I can't promise this every week, but I can promise I'll give you some time back tonight.
No, if Lee's on, then we're not going to be done. We're not going to be on until sun starts coming up when he comes on. We talk for ages, but it's nice because sometimes when the World Championship,
Cam loves a waffle, bless him.
Yeah, when the World Championships are on, we're not usually starting till about now. We're just sat waiting to get going. But yeah, another great week. Looking forward to sort of the next couple of weeks, and I hope that my enthusiasm for the tournament continues.
Yes, we will definitely touch on the format in a few weeks. We've all said our piece in advance of the Premier League. We'll give it a few weeks to play out some more, and then we'll reassess where we stand. Chat room, you've been amazing, folks. Really do appreciate you joining us this evening, especially at such short notice. Tell all your friends we will be back every single week for the Fallout Bar. And if you're listening as a podcast, really do appreciate you downloading and listening as well. So all that's left to say is thank you very much for watching, and have a good one, folks.